Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Jack Rigo Productions. Just doing another video because it's the NFL playoff season, and I really enjoy this time of year. I'm not going to do the predictions right now because it's still too early in the week, but I'm going to talk about some of the experiences I've had over the years and why I love NFL playoff football. First real experiences that I remember is from actually 1985 when the Patriots were good. This is a far different Patriots team then than now. They're a million times better now, but they won 3 playoff games on the road. They beat the Jets, the Raiders, and the Miami Dolphins, who were better than them, and then they got demolished by the Bears in the Super Bowl. I remember watching my dad. The Patriots seemed to get turnovers on kickoff returns or punt returns, which was crazy. You can't depend on that crap in a game, but 3 weeks in a row, they got one against the Jets for a touchdown, the first game, which they won 26-14. They got another touchdown for Sammy Seal got hit. I don't know who. I think Bowen recovered it for the Patriots. Patriots used to wear white and red, believe it or not, back in the day. And then against the Dolphins the next week, they also had a fumble on a kickoff return. I think Mosey Tupu, God rest his soul, caused the play. 31-14 is what I think the Pats won against the Dolphins, who were really good that year, 12-4. I think the Pats were 11-5. Then in the Super Bowl, they got killed by a million points, it felt like. So 1986 was fun for me because as a Bronco fan, which I was since 1983, 1986, I was going to turn 15 years old later on that year. The Broncos won their first playoff game in 86. Puking on myself. Who did they beat in 86 first? Oh, they beat the Patriots, I remember. Elway had a nice run for about 25 yards up the middle. Close game, they won 22-17. Rulon Jones sacked Tony Eason late in the game for a safety. Then they had the famous game against the Browns and Cleveland, the poor Cleveland Browns. At least then they were good. The famous drive, 98 yards. Elway led them down the field to tie the game at 20, and they won 23-20 in overtime on a Rich Collins kick. Elway was outstanding on that drive. One of the best drives in NFL history by far. And then they got smoked by the Giants in the Super Bowl. Well, 39-20. Kind of smoked, but smoked. Elway did throw for 300 yards, though. My favorite player of all time, of course, John Elway. Maybe not as a GM, but as a player. 87, they beat the Browns in the championship game as well. That's the famous Ernest Biner fumble game. God rest their soul. Dick Enberg and Merlin Olsen, my favorite duo, called that. I remember Biner going towards the end zone. Fumbles the football. It's picked up by Denver. They recover. And those guys were in disbelief because Merlin Olsen is a former great player for the Los Angeles Rams. He felt bad because you don't want to see a game end on a choke like that. I mean, that's one of the worst things of all time. Ernest Biner did win a Super Bowl in 1991 with the Washington Redskins a few years later, but he still gets vilified, unfortunately, for that. He did not deserve that to happen. Fast forward, I don't want to talk about the Broncos getting killed in the Super Bowl against San Francisco as well, in Washington. Fast forward. They did have a nice game in the 91 playoffs, beating the Houston Oilers, where they were totally outmatched, and Elway led them down the field for a 26-24 victory. He converted 3 fourth downs on the same drive, which was unbelievable. Guys don't do that often. But the 1997 playoffs were probably my most favorite of all time. First, they played Jacksonville. They won, I think, 41-17. The year before, Jacksonville upset them when they were like a 12.5-point favorite in 96. They smoked Jacksonville. Terrell Davis went nuts. He ran for like 150 yards. The next week, they went to KC, who I think is the choke team of all time. Everybody says they're better than Denver over the years, and they're not. Never have been since this time. Maybe they are. They were better this year, but they lost and choked this week too. Anyways, the Broncos won 14-10. Davis ran for over 100 yards. Elway threw for about 200. It wasn't the greatest game, but they held on. Then the championship game, they were losing 10-0 to the Jets when they had a blocked punt. And they came back and won 23-10. I remember Elway looking out at both sides, Eddie McCaffrey and Rod Smith telling them to stay there. They ran a pattern, a deep pass to McCaffrey, probably about 45 yards. That led to the first touchdown, 10-7. They recovered a fumble on a kickoff return. Next thing you know, they won 23-10. They just were better than the Jets. In the Super Bowl, which was a back and forth game, Terrell Davis dominated that game. He ran for 157 yards and 3 touchdowns, MVP, which he absolutely deserved. Elway didn't have a great game, but he did have that famous scramble. He ran towards the end zone. He spun around. He didn't care. He had no, he didn't care about his body, and he wanted to win that game so badly. They won 31-24. Next year, they won Super Bowl as well, too. So those are my 2 favorite years, 97 and 98, as being a Bronco fan. All right, thank you for watching another edition of Jack Rico Productions, some playoff memories. Have a good one.